Good morning from my side and our side as well. Together with Thilo, we will have now a look into S-CORE, Eclipse S-CORE project. So as Sarah mentioned, last time we had a PowerPoint only presentation, but we will have deeper looks now. We will look into the GitHub. We will see a demo, live demo as well in order to show you progress. Myself, I'm Björn. I'm mainly acting in the marketing and communication team in the S-CORE project. With Anitas, I'm holding an ecosystem development and support role and enablement role. What can you expect from today's presentation? Short intro and recap. So having a look at the timelines, short info about the processes and updates on this. And then Thilo will take over and will really look into the GitHub repositories and showing you some stuff there. Feature requests, we will have a look on this. And on the architecture, so I'm not moving. Architecture and functional building blocks of the 0.5 version, and then on the outlook on the what would we want to achieve in 1.0. And in the end, a short look on how can you contribute, where are the places to go, what does the process look like, how can I participate in the project. So a lot of things already said, but and this slide was partly shown already in Rotterdam. So this is the continuation of the Rotterdam presentation. So there's already a lot of code in the repo. Even though you might ask, hey, I've never seen it, there was a lot of code, and there's a lot of code in the incubation repositories that is now moving into the public and the release ones. So the project itself was started with ETAS, BMW, Mercedes, Quarix, Accenture / ESR Labs, but in the meantime, there are more and more contributors joining in. So we do have already contributions from Conti. We are now collaborating with a member that from Egypt supporting us in marketing communication topics. So it's evolving, and we're getting to this community thing as well. Don't want to talk about the roadmap right now. We'll do this on the next slide. We have set up a platform, everything in Git, everything is running there. So just as the teaser, everything happens in Git, and the complete system runs on Bazel, is integrated with GitHub Actions. And the idea is to really put this safety applicable development process into an open source project. And this comes with downsides. This comes with challenges in terms of organizing things, in terms of, oh, is it really open source? Is it possible or not? But we are still sure that we can manage this, and we're working on this. And we are around, we're out there. So we've been to the Rotterdam community days. We've been to, we had our first town hall shortly afterwards. So we're trying to opening up, as we heard a lot of feedbacks and comments, S-CORE, S-CORE, S-CORE. We're such a closed community, we can't reach it. We don't know whom to contact. No, we are around, and I will give you an outlook on where you will find us on the next events as well. So the AOSS were representatives available. We were in Lund with the Volvo colleagues having a workshop there. So the messages, we are trying to be transparent. We are documenting everything in our open repositories. All the meetings are documented, even though not all meeting invitations are yet in the community calendar, but everybody is free to join and give and participate. With regards to roadmap, we are in the middle of 2025. So you see that there was a huge focus on processes. In order to manage this, in order to be clear from the beginning on that we need these processes if we want to have a safety certification afterwards in the second step and enable business models for distributors. So this is why a lot of effort went in there. But now we are moving more and more into show me the real code, bring the features, what is going to run, and how do you test it, and how do you qualify it later on. So a lot of things still happening in processes and tools, but as well as heading into the direction of feature complete for 0.5, which means we will have logging functionality, communication functionality, and inter-process communication in specific, and then a fixed execution order component as first thing that runs on the S-CORE stack. Targeting to a release at the end of the year, and then going for the 1.0 release in 2026 that might run and being a basis for a serious project. Last slide from my side. For the introduction part and the recap or an extension of what happened last Community Day in Rotterdam, we had a lot of slides on the processes, and we just wanted to give the update and the feedback on this as well. So we conducted in the meantime a fourth audit. It's not a full audit yet, but we are in constant exchange and checking on the deliverables on the processes together with Exceeder. And for sure, there are findings. For sure, we are not yet there in order to be prepared for a safety audit. Findings are different ones. For example, in the config management area where we do have cross-repo baselining, how do we deal with this? Other things that are findings are how do we do versioning with things needs? And there are others in terms of documentation on processes, on roles and responsibilities as well, but nothing where Exceeder and the project team now has the feeling can't be solved. So the message on this slide is still, yes, there's a huge progress still to be done, but we are on the way for processes as well. And we are confident that we are holding our timelines on the one hand side and being capable to provide everything that is needed so that anybody as acting as a distributor in the end can go and pick up the things from the open source repository and start building his own distribution based on this. Having said this, enough from the PowerPoint where, handing over to Thilo, now having a closer look on the repo, on the architecture itself in order to bringing this to the real manner headline for the process. Thank you. We can change.
All right. Sorry for the yeah, so thank you, Björn. I'm here today as a, well, basically just what Björn said is we document everything openly, transparently in our GitHub organization. And I'm here today to read the internet to you, basically, right? I'm like an agentic natural intelligence. Next time around will be probably a proper AI. And then the question will be, did you notice any difference then? Or what be better or worse? So, Björn has thankfully provided a couple of slides that basically serve as a handout, but I will use them so that I don't forget anything. So, but we will pretty quickly switch to the browser, right? First of all, this section is called the architecture deep dive or something. Well, you know, you probably saw that visualization, this picture before. It was much more bluish, had all over the place blue boxes and stuff. It was in some parts slightly different, but this is what came out of a lot of architecture discussions and workshops in S-CORE. And we colored the boxes now according to what's in a release and in which release, right? And I believe yellow is orange, yellowish is 0.5. So what beyond that we will attempt to do this year. And basically the rest is green, except for some portions that are like where we say this is out of scope for now, like an OS, like we don't do OS work in SCORE. So the idea behind the 0.5 release is that we basically do often it's called like a minimal viable product, right? We demonstrate in a very limited scope that the concept and the ideas behind S-CORE work. And we need a sensible set of things to demonstrate that, but we won't extend it to a really large set because that won't be handleable in the first place, right? And so what we came up is, and if you look at the picture, it's interesting because there is probably more orange boxes than green boxes. How does that work? Well, starting from the left, I guess. The left is like the developer ecosystem thing. So what are the tools? What are the platforms that we use? Then code management, GitHub, done. So it's orange, right? Build system, we use Bazel pretty early in the process. We decided for that, done. So it's orange. And so on, right? These are the boxes on the far left. And then moving more to the middle of the thing, we thought we will start like the verticals, try to do a vertical slice, demonstrate that we can run an application. Then what is a good example for that? Well, safety relevant, maybe ADAS related kind of a thing. So how looks an application in that world? Well, maybe we have a framework which enables us to write such ADAS applications. This is what we call the fixed execution order framework here. And so this is part of the nucleus of the 0.5 release. Now you in that thing have an application and workers, threads, activities, kind of a thing that needs to interact somehow with each other. So that means you need some communication mechanism. Right? Without communication, pretty boring. Just work being done in parallel and nothing is exchanged. So we need a communication thing. This is the box, the yellow box over there on the right, more to the right. It's also zero copy, which is a basic thing that we try to achieve. And then, well, you need some basic libraries, basic OS abstraction, configuration. What do we do for configuration? Well, JSON would be a good thing, right? So we have JSON parser, so that's a yellow box, and so on. And so this is the thought train to where we ended up coloring these boxes and including in 0.5 or not, right? And then after these 0.5 decisions, everything else is basically on .0, right? Except for those that are just as a chat, like hardware drivers or something, right? Then yeah. So that gives you a first impression, I guess. Then moving on to dive a little bit deeper into that. So there's basically three big confirmed things that, or blocks that we want to do in 0.5. First up here, you see few fixed execution order, like application framework, ADAS related application framework. We had contribution pitches from different parties, and so we went through them and decided basically for a POC in favor of a few. So there was a few specification, basically, what such a framework has to do. And there's a proof of concept implementation of that. And we decided for that in favor of other options, because if you closely look, and this is also documented on GitHub, we went through different categories, like, is there code that we can actually use? Does it have like the safety collateral requirements documentation, yada, yada, stuff like that, right? Maturity, how far is it along, right? How well is the code built out already? And so weighing all these things, we came up with, well, we would go with the FEO POC for the FEO component, the FEO box in the building blocks. Right. The other thing that I said, well, you have to do communication somehow. So this is called here IPC, inter-process communication, but well, it's probably more than that, because you probably also want to talk with the outside world. But that will come later. So it's really just IPC. The processes communicate within the system, the S-CORE system with each other. And so there was also contribution pitches about that. We weighted down on the same criteria. And we decided for the Lola implementation, or the Lola architecture. And there is code. You can try this out in GitHub. I will be proud. And then a third block is logging. And again, there was contribution pitches. We weighed them according to these categories. We decided for MW log. Yes. And this is also something that where you will see stuff popping up on GitHub. Right. So that was our process, and this is probably what Björn will say later. Also, is that we have these discussion rounds. What do we want to achieve with a feature, right? How does it fit in the overall architecture? And then we have people coming in with actual code in their hands and do contributing pitches. And this is how you could engage in this project too. So yeah, as I said, Björn will have a section later, some words to that. Theo, go a step even further down, right? Now we look precisely into one box. Theo, a ADAS-related framework for writing applications for that domain, right? What need do we have there in that domain? Well, we have repeating tasks that have deterministic cadences, frequencies that they run on, and they have a predetermined and important ordering in which they need to run, right? A needs to run before B, needs to run before C, but can run parallel to B. That's you get a graph of execution. And this framework can model this and can execute your activities according to your specification, to your deployment description. Great. Now is the point where I switch over to the browser. And I'll go astray from my predetermined script, basically. So everything begins with a feature request in SCORE, right? So where we describe in text what this need would be. And there will be pull request according to that feature request that lays that down in documentation. We use Sphinx needs, restructured text documents to write this down and create links and stuff. And you can see a rendering of that on website, right? Eclipse S-CORE Architecture. And if you browse to the correct section, then you will find this, right? And this is the explanation of PO. Oh, on the projector it looks awful as well. But yeah, there is a lot of text, a lot of explanation. There is diagrams and whatnot to show you how is it designed, explanations, and there is like a requirements section that you can drill down where they are linked to each other, and we have this nice and tidy requirements tree that we also use for our audits and safety argumentation. Yeah, and so this is all on GitHub basically. This is restructured text, as I said, and this is a rendering of it, and you will find that on this GitHub pages URL. Yeah, so that is the thing. And I'll go back so that I don't miss anything. I want to take 3 minutes or so to show you that it's real. Talk is cheap, right? So it's why I'm but what I want to demonstrate to you is that it actually works. You have, as I said, a few implementation, and we have a demo application for that. And here is, we have the community data. And we have a demo application that portrays that implementation, basically, right? Details, not too important, but it is an others application that has different activities running, that have dependencies and have to run after each other and stuff. So there's a certain execution graph modeled. We have sensor input data. We have actuators that are controlled braking and steering, and they run in different processes and activities and whatnot. If you're interested in this, very welcome that you dive into this. As I said, it's all on GitHub. I will just prove you very quickly that it's reality. There is actually code and you can run it. So what I will do is I have already cloned the GitHub repository. I think you all know these things. And I'll just run the primary. I'll build and run the primary. It's with a cargo build. We also have a basal build. Well, I'll do it with cargo, so it's a Rust implementation. Here is my secondary, my first secondary, and here is my second secondary. And well, you see it's doing things. But yeah, if you look closely, it's supposed to say we received input, we are stepping this activity, now we output this, we do this, right? There is logging, there's tracing, there is communication going on, there is an application according to FIO running. So as I said, try it yourself. It's pretty cool. Another thing is I'm demonstrating this on a MacBook. And of course, Mac OS is not a target for this. So if you observe closely and know my C# theming, you probably saw that I'm in a dirty Git tree because I had to do stuff so that I can run it on macOS. But the point being, if you improve things, there's your patch. Just open pull request and put it against our repository, open pull request, and we'll review it. And you're happy. We are happy if you engage, right? That's the point. Jan will hit this point home in a second. Last thing I want to show is there's even more restructured text and even more renderings of that. For example, the good example of that is our communication building block, right? Here is like an abstract explanation of what we expect from the communication subsystem, right? And this is more or less a high-level description and what we expect from the feature, right? And then you can drill down and if it wants, then we can look into the architecture and you get diagrams and stuff, right? And it will talk about architectural considerations. If you drill on another place, then you can see all these requirements that are put to the communication building block. And they have all these links, and you can follow these links left and right and see how they trace through. And we will use that for our safety audits. So this is all there. If you want to get the hang of it, take a few minutes, an hour or so, and walk through that. So you get a pretty good impression when you walk through this communication building block. And there's also a section about safety planning. And there's a lot of tables and things. So I invite you to look into that and see in action what we always said we will do, right? All these ideas with we want to bring safety process into open source and all these things. How do you do this together collaboratively? And this is our way how to do it, and we try to live it. Start off this obviously, but yeah. So here's the first results you can touch and see and watch it and engage, of course, if you want. Probably last slide, I believe. What is with these other boxes? We release the 1.0, right? The green ones. There's for everything we have a feature request on the tab. And you can happily just serve to github.com/Eclipse S-CORE, open the issues, search for type feature requests, right? And then you'll see all these things, few examples, as you have seen the few feature requests where it started all. There will be an abstraction layer for deterministic applications that is in preparation. The IPC framework obviously started as a feature request, and now we get to the 1.0 things. Diagnostic system, right? We need what would be a automotive stack without diagnostics. So obviously you need for that. You will hear from Tim in a minute or so what we have in in mind for that. What else? There is, for example, hardware acceleration, AI, right? This is in heavy discussions. There is workshops being held that are documented in GitHub, all these things. And yeah, and our rendered pages. Yeah, so that's it from my side, I believe. Yes. Back to
Perfect, Thilo. This will go on. So process. Automotive, it should be safety. This is fine. There are also positive economies on this kind of stuff. And why there's quite a huge organization set up in order to work on the topics right now. Don't want to go into all the details, but there's a steering on the project lead level, giving guidance. There's a tech lead, so we will keep talking about high-level architecture, how to integrate what would be next features. And then there are different communities set up again and transparent in the GitHub environment, with all the meeting minutes in there, and et cetera, et cetera. So just to make you aware of how to contribute. Thilo was showing you the Git. You saw the visual presentation as well. There's the contribute button on top. Get to the feature requests, engage yourself there. We had the example with Conti doing so in the very first batch of feature requests. Just get there, participate, reach out to us and get in contact to this with us. Get in contact is exactly the last one on it. And we are not yet perfect in this, I know, but we're working on this. So there's quite good chances if you reach out on the Slack that you get a fast answer from anybody, because anybody is around in the project, and you will get at least some answer. Whether it already solves your question, let's see. But a good way to reach out is the Slack. Another one is if you just want to read and write and type, go to the different discussion groups and forums in Git. And this is why I'm saying we need to get better. So there are only a few meetings right now invited from the public community calendar. We're working on this. We're working on setting up a frequent committer meeting that is just open right now. The guidance is reach out via one of these channels or join the project lead circle on Friday, or the communication circle on Wednesday, and get in touch with us. We will guide you and bring you to the relevant groups and teams that are around, and so that you're not getting stuck. So the message is, don't be shy, reach out and get in touch with us. Last one. As of today, we are around, people are around, we are having talks. We do have Philip as well from the process team today, who is a lot of dealing in the processes world. So we are there, we're spreading the word, and we want to connect over the next upcoming events. So be it the AEK, to again, Exceed Automotive is a lot of processes. Just be there, get in touch, and let us bring this forward together. Having said this, we're slightly over time, but I hope you have some questions as well. Weird.